Money can't buy respect, my sister sneered. I sold the house. You have 30 days to move out, I texted her. 2 days later, they showed up at my place. I never thought my own family would be the ones to take advantage of me. But here I am standing in an empty house that cost me my savings, my relationships, and nearly my sanity. 3 months ago, I owned a house. Not my house, my sister's house. The one I paid for, the one I was never welcome in. It was a modest 3-bedroom in a decent neighborhood, hardwood floors, granite countertops, a small backyard where kids could play someday, not extravagant, but comfortable. Exactly what Olivia and her husband Derek said they needed to start building their future. $93,000. That's what it cost me. Not the full price of the house, but the down payment and closing costs. Money I'd saved for my own future. Money that disappeared with a single bank transfer after weeks of psychological warfare from my own parents. Family takes care of family, Dad's favorite saying. He'd repeat it like a mantra whenever I expressed doubt. Your sister needs this, Marcus. Mom's eyes would well up with tears. Don't you want to see your future nieces and nephews grow up in a stable home? The guilt trips were relentless. Daily calls, family dinners that devolved into interventions. Reminders of how Olivia had always been there for me. She hadn't. I broke after 6 weeks, transferred the money, signed the papers. They didn't even say thank you. The day Olivia and Derek moved in, I brought over a housewarming gift, a bottle of champagne and a small potted plant. Nothing fancy. Just a gesture. Olivia took the gifts with a dismissive thanks while Derek barely acknowledged me. They were too busy directing the movers where to place their furniture. I stood awkwardly in what was technically my house for 20 uncomfortable minutes before realizing they weren't going to offer me anything. Not a drink, not a tour, nothing. I guess I'll let you guys get settled, I finally said. Olivia glanced up from her phone. Yeah, we have a lot to do. She didn't even walk me to the door. I tried to squash the resentment bubbling in my chest as I drove home. They're stressed from the move, I told myself. They'll be more appreciative when they're settled. 3 days later, my cousin Taylor sent me a text. Great party at Olivia's new place last night. House is amazing. My stomach dropped. I pulled up Instagram and there they were. Dozens of photos, my parents, my cousins, family, friends, all crowded into the living room I had paid for, raising glasses in celebration. Streamers hung from the ceiling. A banner read "Home Sweet Home." I hadn't been invited. My hands shook as I scrolled through image after image. There was Dad giving a toast, Mom hugging Olivia in the kitchen, Derek grilling in the backyard, everyone smiling, everyone having a great time in the house that had cost me my life savings, everyone except me. I called Olivia immediately. Oh, hey, she answered, sounding annoyed at the interruption. What's up? You had a housewarming party? My voice came out higher than I intended. Just a small get-together. The dismissal in her tone was unmistakable. Looks like the whole family was there. A pause. It was last minute. We didn't think you'd be interested. The lie stung worse than if she had admitted the truth that I simply hadn't been wanted. I paid for that house, Olivia. Her laugh was cold. And there it is. I knew you'd throw that in my face eventually. Throw it in your face. I'm not asking for praise, but some basic acknowledgement would be nice. Maybe an invitation to the party celebrating the house I made possible. God, you're pathetic. Her voice turned venomous. Is that why you helped us, so you could hold it over our heads so we'd have to kiss your ass forever? My chest tightened. That's not. News flash, Marcus. Money can't buy respect or a place in our lives. If Mom and Dad guilt tripped you into helping us, that's between you and them. We didn't ask for your charity, except they had. They absolutely had. I hung up without another word. The betrayal settled in my stomach like a lead weight. I'd been used, manipulated, taken advantage of by the people who were supposed to love me most. That night, I pulled out the deed to the house, the paperwork we'd all signed, the documents that confirmed what I already knew. My name was still on everything. I'd put down the money, but I was legally part owner until Olivia and Derek refinanced me out. They'd never gotten around to that part. By morning, I'd made my decision. I called a real estate agent and explained the situation. Yes, I could sell the house. Yes, even without the other owner's permission, though it would be complicated. The property laws were on my side. I texted Olivia, I'm selling the house. You have 30 days to move out. The explosion was nuclear. Within hours, my phone was flooded with messages. Olivia called me every name in the book. Derek threatened legal action. My parents switched between begging and commanding me to change my mind. You can't do this to your sister. This is cruel, Marcus. We raised you better than this. I blocked them all. 2 days later, they showed up at my apartment. Mom was crying. Dad was red-faced with anger. Olivia stood silently, arms crossed. You need to stop this nonsense, Dad said as soon as I opened the door. I let them in but remained standing. No offers of drinks or seats. They could feel what I had felt in my house. It's not nonsense. The house is in my name, and I'm selling it. We are family. Mom's voice cracked. How can you do this to your own sister? Ask her. I looked directly at Olivia. Ask her how she treated the brother who gave up his savings for her. Ask her why she excluded me from her life the moment she got what she wanted. It was just a stupid party, Olivia muttered, but she couldn't meet my eyes. It's not about the party. It's about realizing I was never anything but an ATM to you. That's not fair. Dad started. None of this has been fair. My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. You all pressured me for weeks, made me feel like garbage for even hesitating. Then once I gave in, once I handed over nearly $100,000, I was tossed aside, forgotten. We said thank you, Mom insisted weakly. No, you didn't. The silence that followed confirmed what I already knew. They couldn't even remember thanking me because they never had. The house goes on the market next week. I moved toward the door. You all should leave now. If you do this, Dad's voice was low and dangerous, you're no longer part of this family. I laughed. The sound was hollow even to my own ears. I haven't been part of this family since I signed those papers. The only difference now is that I know it. After they left, I sat alone in my apartment. The weight that had been pressing on my chest for months finally began to lift. I'd lost my family, but they had shown me who they truly were. Maybe that knowledge was worth the price. The next few weeks were a blur of paperwork and legal consultations. Olivia and Derek tried everything to stop the sale. Tears, threats, half-hearted apologies. When those didn't work, they trashed the house before moving out, leaving holes in the walls and stains on the carpets. My parents followed through on their threat. I was officially disowned, cut out of family events, blocked on social media, erased from their lives. Relatives who had happily celebrated in the house I paid for now treated me like an outcast. Only cousin Taylor reached out, sending a brief text. I get why you did it. I'm sorry it came to this. One small voice of understanding in a storm of condemnation. In the end, the property damage and rush sale meant I took a significant loss. I recouped about $70,000 of my $93,000 investment. The difference, $23,000, was effectively the price I paid to see my family's true colors. An expensive lesson, but one I'll never forget. It's been 3 months now. I'm slowly rebuilding my savings, starting over in many ways. Some nights I still wake up wondering if I made the right choice, if there was another path I could have taken. But then I remember Olivia's cold laugh. Money can't buy respect, she'd said. She was right about that, at least. I've learned that some people will take and take until there's nothing left to give, that the word family is sometimes used as a weapon, a guilt-inducing tool to extract compliance, that unconditional love often comes with very specific conditions. Most importantly, I've learned that self-respect costs more than money, but it's the only thing truly worth paying for. To anyone faced with the same impossible choice between financial security and emotional freedom, I can only offer this. The money will return, eventually. But the time and energy spent trying to earn the love of people who see you as nothing but a resource, that's gone forever. I don't regret losing the money. I regret how long it took me to realize what it was actually buying. And it wasn't a house. Summer was fatting when I first noticed the signs of trouble with my sister. Olivia had always been our parents' favorite, the perfect daughter who never strayed from the path they set. College, marriage, career, all according to plan. Unlike me, the disappointing son who'd chosen a vocational route instead of the family-approved university trajectory. But even golden children sometimes tarnish, and Olivia's shine had definitely dimmed. I noticed it at Dad's birthday dinner. The way she and Derek avoided questions about their 5-year plan. The tense glances they exchanged when Mom mentioned grandchildren. The forced smile when Dad brought up their apartment lease. We're actually thinking of looking for a house, Olivia mentioned casually over dessert. Dad perked up. That's wonderful. Where are you looking? We've got our eye on Cooper's Glen. Derek named a modest but respectable neighborhood. Mom clapped her hands together. Perfect for starting a family. I noticed my sister's knuckles whitening around her fork. Derek's jaw tightening almost imperceptibly. The conversation moved on, but something felt off. I didn't realize I was witnessing the opening move in an elaborate game, one where I would ultimately become the pawn. 2 weeks later, Mom called me. Her voice had that particular tone she used when she wanted something. Have you talked to your sister lately? I hadn't. Olivia and I weren't close, never had been. The 4-year age gap and our parents' obvious favoritism had created a distance neither of us had ever tried to bridge. Is everything okay? I asked automatically. Mom sighed dramatically. They're struggling, Marcus. The house they want. They can't quite afford the down payment. My guard immediately went up. That's unfortunate. Your father and I were thinking. She paused as if carefully selecting her words. You've been doing so well with your business, and you don't have the expenses they do. And there it was. The real purpose of the call. You want me to give them money for a house. Not give, Mom corrected quickly. Invest. You'd be on the deed too. Of course. It's a solid investment opportunity, really. I almost laughed. Even my mother couldn't say it with enough conviction to sound believable. I need to think about it, I said finally, knowing that outright refusal would only trigger a longer, more uncomfortable conversation. Of course, sweetheart. But don't think too long. They might lose the house if they don't move quickly. The seed had been planted. In the days that followed, it was carefully tended. Dad called next. His approach was more direct. Marcus, I've raised you to understand the importance of family. Your sister and Derek need your help. They're both employed, Dad. Why can't they save for their own down payment? His voice hardened. Because not everyone has been as fortunate as you. Fortune had nothing to do with it. I'd worked 80-hour weeks for years to build my small contracting business, lived in a studio apartment to keep expenses low, avoided vacations, new cars, even dating, all to ensure financial stability. Olivia and Derek, meanwhile, took lavish trips, drove new vehicles, and lived in an apartment that cost twice what mine did. Their financial troubles weren't due to misfortune. They were due to choices, but pointing this out would only escalate the tension. I'll think about it, I repeated. The pressure campaign intensified. Sunday dinners became interrogations about my decision. Family text chains turned into forums for subtle guilt trips. Mom left tearful voicemails about Olivia's devastation at potentially losing her dream home. No one seemed concerned about my dreams, about the fact that the money they wanted me to invest was meant for my own future home, for the security I'd worked so hard to build. 6 weeks of this psychological siege wore me down. Each day, my resistance weakened. Each call chipped away at my resolve. The final blow came when Mom showed up at my apartment unannounced, eyes red from crying. Olivia and Derek might separate if they don't get this fresh start, she said, voice trembling. Is that what you want? To see your sister's marriage fall apart when you could have prevented it? I knew it was manipulation. Knew I was being played. I transferred the money anyway. The relief I expected to feel never came. Instead, a hollow sensation settled in my chest as I watched the funds leave my account. $93,000, nearly everything I had. The signing of papers was anticlimactic. A brief meeting at a title company, signatures scrawled on documents, polite smiles exchanged with the real estate agent. Olivia's thanks was perfunctory at best. Derek nodded curtly when I handed over the keys. No celebration. No genuine gratitude. Nothing to mark the enormous sacrifice I just made. We should have you over once we're settled, Olivia said as we walked to the parking lot. The half-hearted invitation hung in the air between us. I'd like that, I replied, knowing even then that it would never happen. I drove away with an unfamiliar emptiness inside me. The rational part of my brain screamed that I'd made a terrible mistake. The emotional part still hoped that maybe, just maybe, this act would bridge the chasm between my sister and me, that it might finally earn me the place in my family I'd always craved. It didn't. The exclusion from the housewarming party wasn't a surprise, not really. It was merely confirmation of what I'd already suspected deep down. My usefulness had ended the moment the money left my account. The most painful realizations are often the ones we've known all along, but refuse to acknowledge. When I called the real estate agent to initiate the sale, I felt nothing but calm determination. The chaos that followed, the angry calls, the family showdown in my apartment, the threats of disownment washed over me like waves against a rock. I had finally found my immovable center. You won't really go through with this, Derek sneered during their final week in the house. He was supervising the movers, making sure they handled his precious electronics with care. You don't have the spine. I leaned against the doorframe watching dispassionately as my former house was systematically emptied. The realtor's bringing a potential buyer tomorrow at 10. His face flushed with anger. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Making us suffer. I'm not enjoying any of this, Derek. Then why do it? Why force us out of our home? It was never your home. My voice remained steady. It was a transaction, one that's now being reversed. He shook his head in disgust. You're more cold-hearted than I thought. No, I corrected him. I'm just finally seeing clearly. Later that night after they'd gone, I walked through the empty house alone. The walls bore marks where pictures had hung. The floors showed indentations from furniture. Small damages left intentionally. Scratches on countertops, a broken bathroom tile, stains ground into carpets. Their parting message to me. I ran my hand along the kitchen island where in another reality I might have been welcomed as a brother, as family. My fingers traced the edge of a deep gouge in the granite. Derek's handiwork, no doubt. The damage didn't bother me as much as it should have. Physical things can be repaired. Relationships once severed by betrayal are much harder to fix. My new apartment is smaller than my old one, less expensive, practical. It will take time to rebuild my savings, but I've done it before. I know how to start over. The silence from my family is complete. No calls on my birthday. No invitations to holidays. My name has become unmentionable in their house according to Cousin Taylor, who still checks in occasionally. I expected to feel more pain about this excommunication. Instead, there's a strange sense of peace. The constant need to earn their approval to prove my worth, it's gone. The space it left behind feels lighter than I ever imagined possible. Last week, I passed Olivia in the grocery store. Our eyes met briefly across the produce section. For a moment, something flickered across her face. Regret perhaps, or maybe just surprise. I nodded politely and continued selecting my apples. She turned away first. Some people might view my story as a tragedy. A family torn apart over money, but that's not quite right. The money didn't divide us. It merely revealed the divisions that were already there, hidden beneath the surface of obligatory Sunday dinners and perfunctory birthday calls. I lost $93,000, but I gained something far more valuable: the truth, and myself. Sometimes that's enough. If I could go back and give advice to my younger self, the one standing in that title company, pen hovering over documents, doubt knowing at his insides, I'd say this: true family doesn't need to be bought. Love that comes with conditions isn't love at all. And sometimes, the most courageous thing you can do is to walk away from people who only value what you can give them, not who you are. The hardest lesson I've learned is that blood doesn't guarantee loyalty, and sacrifice doesn't ensure gratitude. Real family, whether related by blood or formed through genuine connection, respects your boundaries, acknowledges your worth, and never makes their love contingent on what you can provide. I lost money I can earn back, but I gained wisdom that's priceless, and that has made all the difference.